so far on what you yourself, Transparency International Ghana Integrity Initiative, you've been able to gather. And Dr. Kojo Asante was earlier saying that the two institutions were even trying to find out how much it costs politicians and political parties, even in the last election alone, just on media adverts.
Thank you very much, Beatrice, and good evening to your viewers and listeners across the country, and also to say good evening to the other panelists, and congratulations to Prof. I would say that quantifying it, these are averages, as Kojo has mentioned, and we have tried in various elections to document abuse of state resources. Also, in 2024, we added the element of trying to document the cost elements, looking at the various instruments that are used for elections, the logistics as well. So we're looking at the various paraphernalia, including the T-shirts and others, which were documented, and also campaign events and rallies. It is still work in progress. And as Kojo has indicated, we stalled because of some challenges, but it's work that we are going to finish, because this is a topic that is topical for Ghana and also very important for the international stage. It has become a discussion that we cannot run away from. Listening to Kojo, listening to Prof and Auntie Gloria, we need to all do something about this, and we need to do it as quickly as possible. Because the fight against corruption, I believe, without a doubt at all, is incumbent on resolving the issue around political financing, particularly where monies come from, to ensure the prosecution of the various campaigns by the political parties and also by the various candidates. Transparency International has, in this regard, done a lot of extensive work collating information from across the globe. And I can say authoritatively that many countries in Africa and also across the globe have similar challenges, but maybe varying in their manifestation. And so there is the development of a recommendation or recommendations that we believe all states should pay attention to when it comes to the fight against corruption, particularly tackling this monster of campaign financing. We cannot belabor this point whatsoever. The linkage has been established. It is so very clear. And so I was thinking the way Prof was trying to get out of the discussion on how bad, but he came to it that it is very bad. I think you push him to agree that it is very bad. And perhaps maybe we should be asking Prof how much he used in contesting his election. And I think he also mentioned the fact that it depends on the constituency where one is coming from, where we have strongholds and anybody standing would not have to do much to win. But yes, still there is the element of a lot of money going into the process. The question we should be asking ourselves is, for instance, take me, Mary, as the example. If I had the opportunity to stand for elections, a civil society person who does not have much money in my account, if I am prosecuting such an agenda where I have to be buying coffees for constituents and paying school fees and hospital fees, as Auntie Gloria has indicated, where am I getting that money from? People would have to give me. And the challenge is the fact that we do not have a clear regime in place to ensure that there is accountability for what people are giving us. And so we see a regime where the Electoral Commission is supposed to hold these parties accountable, but not the candidates. So the gap remains there. Candidates take all the money from illicit and licit sources to prosecute various campaigns. Again, we see a regime where, because we do not have a timeline within which we prosecute our campaigns, immediately after elections, we start another election. So they need to continually fuel the wheels of elections is there. And as I talk, I believe the MPP has already started. They are already thinking about electing somebody to continue with the process in January.
Yes.
And so we are a country which is election biased. We are thinking about how we win them. Then the issue of lack of accountability is cruelly manifested because we take monies from every space. Kojo will tell you about the issues around putting together a bill and a legislation to ensure that we do this work. And some of the justifications that have come for receiving illicit money. I remember at a point somebody asked, how do I know where the money is coming from if I am somewhere soliciting funding and somebody gives me money? How do I know it's coming from illicit sources like galamsey and also the drug trade and also illicit financial flows? How do I know that? These are some of the issues that we need to deal with. Very critical challenges that this country must be able to deal with. These challenges continue to suffocate our electoral process, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. So you need more money to be able to prosecute the agenda, to be able to win. And so when you win, then as Prof has indicated, you go around following your party to give you contracts when you are not a contractor, where you also have to sell, and then you continue to engage in illicit activity to be able to fund your remaining in either parliament or your party remaining in power. So there are so many of these, and the lack of transparency around all this makes it even more murkier. And I believe that the citizen as well, our role has also been compounded by the fact that there is so much poverty in the system, and we have seen this as an opportunity to also harvest during these campaigning processes. And they will tell you, I was on another space where somebody was saying the fact that we are talking about expanding electoral colleges and promoting that, that will not be the resolution at all, because if you expand the process, it means you need to find more money to fuel that agenda.
Indeed.
And so and indeed, if you say everybody, then it means you need to give more roads to people, you need to give more TV sets and buy more coffins and pay more school fees and take more people to hospital, and which is not tenable.
Yes,
which is not tenable at all for us.
Prof would answer that question on how much he spent. But let me ask you this before I come back to him, and then I'll come back to Dr. Kojo Asante. I mean, what you're talking about in terms of transparency, a lot of people indeed have been calling for transparency in our political financing. And we see that happen in US, for instance, where you have open secrets. So you know how much Donald Trump and the other competitors even received ahead of that election that brought him back to power. And just right in France, in Europe, you've seen a former president, Nicolas Sarkozy, also sentenced to 5 years in jail. He's expected to go to jail next week because of that Muammar Gaddafi kind of arrangement. What kind of systems, from where you say, do you believe would work for us in ensuring that we have some sort of transparency and accountability?
I believe the Political Parties Act, which requires that people can give, is not clear enough. The space within giving is not clear for us, and so we believe that this should be strengthened. And when I say giving, if you give, like in the American and other systems, if you are giving 10 cedis, it will be reflected in a system where everybody would know how much is being given. In our case, there is no particular limitation of the giving. And as it is also compounded by, it says Ghanaians would give. What about those instances where we have corporates, and corporate vehicles can also give? So what about those instances where the corporates are in Ghana but not Ghanaian? And these are where the bigger chunks of the funding comes from. So we need a vehicle in place that helps us to be able to, at every time, be able to document and also share with the people of Ghana how much, for instance, the NDC is making, how much Professor Alidu is making when it comes to soliciting for funding to prosecute his campaign. This should be very visible, and the Electoral Commission or another body that is superintending over the issues of promoting transparency should be allowing us to see on a daily basis. It is critical that at this point, the people who want to lead us must be willing and ready and available to be public officers. And public officers should not have secrets. You shouldn't have secrets that you do not want us to know. And besides, if somebody is giving you money, why don't you want us to know who it is that is giving you the money and how much it is that person is giving you? I remember during the Obama days, each Tesla and each CD was accounted for. Then at the end of the day, the accountability of the parties and also of the members of parliament or candidates should be one critical component we all seek and ask for. And we must demand to the extent that they give to us. When you go to the Electoral Commission to ask for information, they give you information that shows the parties consistently declare, and I mean the two major parties declare, but the declaration is limited. It is just for funds that are legitimately put in their accounts. So you don't see how much goes to the individuals, and this must also be within the remit of the law, so that we ask how much were the t-shirts the person donated. If there were 1,000 and each is 40 cedis, we should be able to quantify this and show. And whoever is superintending over this must also ensure that the people of Ghana are informed at every point in time. It is critical that we do this.
Indeed,
if we believe that we want to be public officers who serve the interests of this nation.
I'm coming back to you, Madam Gloria Foribwedu. I mean,